an example from Mukund. So Mukund said that when he was doing carving, like carving the wood, Mukund, carving wood. So he was taught, that he was carving at a different angle than what it should be done. So someone
away from you.
Yeah, carve away from you. So
you only take it seriously once you carve the other way and hurt yourself.
Okay, and then teaching by extension.
No, we'll come to that. So group 2. Group 2 is teaching by engagement. Who's your representative? Okay. Is that unanimous decision that Bhavya is your representative? Okay.
So teaching by engagement, so things like dramas, kid performances, kirtans that we do, harinams, and then like during the Gita classes or just any classes, the listeners have to like engage by like repeating small shlokas, repeating main points and asking questions. So that's engagement with those things. And then bigger things such as like public cooking that we engage other people to join in devotional service.
Wonderful. Sevan mukhi he jivado swayam eva spuratyada. That means when we engage sevas, when we engage, of course this verse refers to the tongue, Sevan mukhi jivado. But if we engage ourselves and our senses in any devotional service, then that's teaching by engagement. So we not only engage ourselves, but even our teachers engage us as in drama and like that. So in drama, actually theatre is a very, very amazing tool for taking this message to one and all. In many places, in London, they do street performances. Just on the street they'll go and they'll just have impromptu drama like that. So this is teaching by engagement. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Who's the third group? Third group, okay, yes. So who's your representative? Bhumikita?
So ours is teaching by example. The first one we came up with was parents. So as parents, we set an example for our children. So what we do on a daily basis as devotional service. When our kids see us, that's how they learn. And we just don't tell them what to do, but they learn by seeing what we do on a daily basis in terms of devotional service. And the second one that we came up with was our own Guru Maharaj. So they set an example for us to follow them. So currently, my Guru Maharaj is His Holiness Kadamba Swami Maharaj. As we all know that he's not doing well health-wise, but he is still chanting in the condition that he is for his disciples. So he's setting an example, and he said if he doesn't fight, how would he set an example for his disciples to fight and chant nicely? So he is a very good example. And the third one we came up with was Srila Prabhupada. So he is an example for all of us. He's the most senior Vaishnava that we follow. Through him, we have actually spread ISKCON worldwide. So he is a very good example. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'll give to Mataji.
I just add one more because as devotee, we are the representative of Krishna. So we have to set an example. So when we set a good example, it's best preaching because we don't preaching by our words, we preaching by our action. So example is the best preaching. So just remember when you go outside, you are devotee. So by example, you're actually preaching.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So actually, one person, he said to another person, because when we set an example, it's our character which shows what we are. So one person said to another person, he says, I cannot hear you because your character is too loud. So sometimes, when our character is too loud, then whatever we speak doesn't make sense to the person. And it is not, when we don't ourselves follow and lead by example, what happens is, no matter what, we can speak any nice philosophy, but it will not touch the hearts of people if our own character is not good. And actually Mahaprabhu is a classic example of how our character should be. He is setting up a nice example. Okay, then next one. Is that group 1? Teach by extending? Yes.
So teaching.
You have to choose another representative. You're not giving a class, man. Come on.
Okay, so the first example of teaching by experience is when parents send their children.
No. By extension.
First example of teaching by extending is when parents send their children to the Gurukul and hand them over to the Gurukul teachers. Is the only one ready?
Okay, someone else can take the mic and speak, yeah.
So, Dhruva Maharaj's mother told him to go to the forest,
And?
chant, and he left.
His mother sent him to the forest to pray to Lord Narayan, so he can only help you.
Yes. So even though the mother was the queen, this mic is not working. Sorry, bro. Even though the mother was queen, but she sent Dhruva Maharaj to go to the forest and pray to Lord Narayan. And of course, then Narad Muni comes and intervenes, and then he can also be considered an extension from the scriptures. Thank you. Yes, wonderful example of teaching by extension. Can anyone give a practical example of teaching by extension? Anyone?
Ask his son to turn the dishwasher on because he can't do it. So I asked him, turn the dishwasher on and the dishes will be washed.
Sorry?
His father can't do the dishes properly. So I asked him, go and put everything in the dishwasher and turn it on.
Okay. So dishwasher is the extension. Thank you. Yeah, actually sometimes it happens, our children will not listen to us, but if someone else comes and tells the same thing, like sometimes, in our case, when the girls won't listen to us, we'll just tell either a senior devotee or Prabhupada disciple or someone, or even my Guru Maharaj to speak to them, says, can you please tell them, do this and this. So by extension, they'll just do that. Okay. And teaching by extremity, which group was that?
Second group.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. So when I first heard this, and we discussed as well, the example came to also Srila Prabhupada. So there was one incident when Srila Prabhupada was very worried that Chaitanya Charitamrita has to be done within a certain time, because he was very worried that He will leave body anytime. So he said his disciples, I want Chaitanya Charitamrita to be printed very soon. So he said, I want it in 2 months. Within 2 months, all the sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhupada disciples said, Prabhupada, if you give us 20 years, that is also not enough for that. And you are saying 2 months? That's not possible. Prabhupada said, I want it. Then disciples were working day and night very hard to do that. And within 2 months they did it also. And when they did it, Prabhupada literally cried. Sorry guys, but what to do? I'm worried. Chaitanya Charitamrita is such an important book. So Srila Prabhupada set that example by setting a goal to his disciples and making the impossible thing possible. There are many incidents when Srila Prabhupada used to say his disciples, okay, you go to Japan and become the temple president of there. Prabhupada, but we don't have temple there. Okay, go open temple and become temple president. So that was Prabhupada. So we believe that, Srila Prabhupada is that example for us for teaching by extremity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So this way we can see that we can learn from different ways of learning, and Mahaprabhu, of course, he comes and he teaches by his own example. Now, when Mahaprabhu, when he was trying to meet the Mayavadi sannyasis in Varanasi, what did he do? He showed by his own example that when he went to meet them in their home, he sat at a place where, which was a very dirty place. And, he showed by his own example that humility is the first character of a devotee. And even though the Mayavadi sannyasis are aiming for that impersonal effulgence, the brilliant effulgence of impersonalism, but when they saw Mahaprabhu's character, when Mahaprabhu showed them by his own example, the brilliance of his humility, and they were all enamored by that, and of course ultimately then they called him in, and then they started discussing with him, and as we know that Mahaprabhu from there he converted everyone from Mayavadis to the pure Vaishnavas. And how many examples are there like that? So then we will speak about Mahaprabhu's life, what he did, and especially what he did with the Sankirtan movement, what is also called the movement of love. Right? In this day and age, everyone is actually looking for love. It's just that we are looking at the wrong place. But Mahaprabhu gave us something which is, very, very sublime, very simple, but very satisfying, and that is the movement of love. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his own example, first one is, he knows the way. Mahaprabhu knows what has to be given, and he knows the way which everyone must go to. Unfortunately for us, we are all here following in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So after knows the way, what is there? Can you repeat all the way? And then? So we should do the same thing. We should know the way, we should go the way. Go the way means we should have our own character, our own example, because yes, we know, but are we behaving according to what we know? Are we going the way? Are we walking the talk? And then, by our own example, we should show the way. So Mahaprabhu knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Can you please repeat together? Does anyone disagree? No. This is Mahaprabhu, and as devotees of Mahaprabhu, we should also inculcate these habits. That we should know the way. Because as Mataji said that we are devotees, we are leading by example. And not only to outsiders, even to ourselves, we should show that yes, humility should be there, gratitude must be there, respect must be there, and by these characters, I mentioned earlier, if you know, there's a temple president in the manor in London, Shruti Dharma Prabhu, and every time he gives a class, he will give a class on just the character of devotee. Any topic you give him, like Shruti Kirti Prabhu, Shruti Dharma and Shruti Kirti Prabhu, you give him any class and he'll only speak about Prabhupada because he was personal servant of Prabhupada. So Shruti Kirti Prabhu, you give him any topic, any Bhagavatam class, Chaitanya Charitamrita class, he will only speak about Prabhupada. Shruti Dharma Prabhu, same thing. Anything you speak to him, tell him to speak on, and he will talk about building a character. So this is what we have to understand, that we are here, and as parents showing the example for the young children, that we have to know the way, we have to go the way, and we have to show the way. So Mahaprabhu started the movement of love. Where did he start? At Navadvipa. He was born in Navadvipa. Of course, I'm not going to go into his history, but we'll see how Mahaprabhu started the way. He spread the movement, he structured the movement like that. So when he was in Navadvipa, he was a scholar, and being a scholar, he was and of course very beautiful, and his beauty was such that this morning, last night we heard that when he went to call his elder brother Vishwarupa at Advaita Acharya's house, people are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, they're relishing Srimad Bhagavatam, but when they looked at little Nimai, they were all mesmerized. So by his beauty, by his intelligence, by his scholarship, but above all, by his humility, he started this movement of love. And he started the Sankirtan movement. Of course, every time he wanted to spread the movement, he used some innovative ways to spread the movement. And that's what we should do. We should have innovative ways to spread the holy name. Like, has anyone heard of metro yoga? Do you know what metro yoga is? Do you know what a metro train is? Yes. So in France, some devotees, they just go into one station, go into the train, chant Hare Krishna, distribute cookies, after 2-3 stations get off, get another train. They're using that same zone tickets, going from one end to another, coming back, and for a couple of hours they just do that, metro yoga. Last year we did that here in Brisbane when Eka was going on. Ashish Prabhu prepared some Eka goodie bags, and we distributed Eka goodie bags. Thousands of people heard the holy name, and many of them, they got the Eka bags. So this is how we use innovative techniques. So Mahaprabhu started this movement of love in Navadvipa. Then, after starting the movement of love, he spreads the movement of love. Now, how does he spread the movement of love? The Sankirtan movement? By traveling to South India and other places. And, he just travels everywhere, and we know the story where many places he goes, and people become so ecstatic just by seeing him, just by hearing his chanting, that they become completely ecstatic. When they go back to their own villages, those villages become more ecstatic, and when those villages come in contact with other people, they become ecstatic. They go mad. So this was just the effect of people chanting in times of Mahaprabhu's travel time. Just imagine this. We cannot even imagine. So when we talk of extremities, this is how we can learn by extremity. All we need is just conviction, what Prabhupada had. Prabhupada had just conviction in his Guru's orders. So we should have conviction in the holy name, the power of the holy name. Many times we go out for Harinam or book distribution, we think that because I am doing this, this person is buying a book. Actually, no. Prabhupada said that we chant to please Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu will send someone to be attracted. This morning we were discussing that when Prabhupada said, go to every town and village. The devotee said, every town and village, what are we going to do? So Prabhupada then wrote back to them, He said, there is a devotee in every town and village. They are waiting for you. They are waiting for you. So Mahaprabhu himself, he traveled within South India. He converted so many people. He had this wonderful conversation with Venkata Bhatt. He found the manuscript of Brahma Samhita, and then he preached to many places in South India and other parts of India. So this way he was spreading the movement. Of course, we will not go into the details of how he spread, but basically after starting the movement, then he spread this movement of love. And then what did he do? The next phase of his life is structuring the movement of love. So this happens in Prayag and Varanasi. So when we talk of structuring, so he's already started the movement. Now the movement is spreading. But he knows that unless there is structure, what will happen to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. So in Prayag and Varanasi, he instructs Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami into the art of and the science of bhakti. So he instructs them. Now these Goswamis again are not ordinary people. These Goswamis are not ordinary people. Just think, Rupa Goswami, who's Rupa Goswami? I mean, imagine, in the modern days of management, in the modern days of government, who is Rupa Goswami? He's the personal secretary to the Nawab, the Muslim administrative government in those days. Who is Sanatana Goswami? He is the finance minister. Just think these personalities. These are not, some ordinary people. These are very high class people. And Mahaprabhu is explaining them. Who is Raghunath Das Goswami? Raghunath Das Goswami is the son of, in modern terms, son of a billionaire. So he's such a rich person. Who is Gopala Bhatta Goswami? Gopala Bhatta Goswami is again the son of Venkata Bhatta. And Venkata Bhatta is again the chief priest of Srirangam. Now Srirangam is the main seat of Sri Sampradaya. So these are the people, Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami is the guru of the kings of Jaipur. And he was instrumental in spreading Krishna consciousness among the royal family. So these are the people who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed them and told them to structure the science of bhakti, and that's why we have our literatures now. And these literatures actually teach us now that okay, this is the way you live your life, this is the way you live your life in bhakti. So after he started the movement of love, then he's spreading the movement of love in South India, then in Prayag and Varanasi he's structuring the movement. He's making sure the structure is there, so it is passed on. How come we are here? How come we are here trying to understand why? This is a science which is not going to be refuted or rebuked in any other place, in any place. So because this is a structured science and it is very scientific, and as we know in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses the word science in the first 4 verses each time. He says ancient science, supreme science, like that. So Mahaprabhu actually structured this movement. So the 6 Goswamis, what did they do again? They heard from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now what actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us? Can anyone guess? What did he come to give us? Yes, Krishna Prema. He came to give us Krishna Prema. Now we say these words Krishna Prema very easily. Just think about that. Think about that. What is Krishna Prema? Now I'll give an example. Krishna Prema is like a very intense gushing waterfall. Right? Has anyone been to Niagara Falls? Anyone, any major falls? Anyone? Niagara Falls, yeah, a couple of them. Do you think we can go below the Niagara Falls and take a bath? What's going to happen? We're going to be crushed. Yeah? We're going to be crushed. So, Krishna Prem actually is like this intense gushing waterfall. So, Mahaprabhu is ready to give it to us. But are we ready to receive it? No. So what the Goswami does for us is that they bring the waterfall to us in the form of a very beautiful lake or a very beautiful ocean, where we as devotees of this generation and the next generation and next generation can easily bathe in that Krishna Prem. You will see now when we chant at 7 o'clock in the Aarti, you will see everyone is blissful and everyone is very happy. Why? Because that is Krishna Prem we are experiencing, even though we can get a glimpse. And this comes also because Mahaprabhu has given it to Goswamis in a structured manner and they are giving it to us. Now yes, we can come here and do kirtan and take part in the Aarti, take prasadam and all that. But unless we know the science behind this, which has been given to us by Mahaprabhu and Goswamis, it will be hard for us to sustain our life in bhakti. Some other allurement comes and we'll be gone there. Some other allurement comes and we'll be gone there. But once we understand the science of bhakti, once we understand that yes, this is what it is. Today we are speaking to some devotees and we are explaining them that yes, they are now going back to India for a break to be with their families after 4 or 5 years. They've gone through some very difficult times here recently. And they're saying that, do we continue our class or no? And then I said, no, actually you take a break a little bit because we've not had break for some time. I said, no, we want to continue the class because by showing our dedication to our families, they will appreciate exactly what we are doing. And then they said, when we go back to our families, we are going to distribute Bhagavad Gita, we are going to have kirtan, we are going to have programs there so that they understand that this is what our lives are here. So, if it is not in a structured manner, it cannot happen. It can be just sentiments. But Mahaprabhu has structured this movement of love so that it can be passed on from generation to generation. What is the next one? So after starting the movement of love, spreading the movement of love, structuring the movement of love, this is solidifying the movement of love. And that's what actually we are also a part of here, that we have to solidify this movement of love. Now where is Mahaprabhu doing this? In Jagannath Puri. So just imagine, he's starting the movement in Navadvipa. He's spreading it in South India and other places. Goes to Prayag and Varanasi, which is in North India. Then he goes to Jagannath Puri again, which is East India, right? And he is solidifying the movement. Now how does he solidify this movement of love? How does he do that? As we know that the devotees from Mayapur and the surrounding places, they will come every year to meet Mahaprabhu. And he was then making communities by showing them the science of bhakti, at the same time by showing them how to practice bhakti. So this is how we solidify. When we, even if you have something, structured, but unless we sit together, discuss together, chant together, take prasadam together, experience this together, the solidification will not happen. And unless we solidify this movement of love within our group here, within the bigger group here, whosoever they are, right? We cannot go out and give this to others. Because ultimately, we have to do that. As we know, Bharat Bhumi la Janma hoile yaar, Jivana Sarthak Kara Kara Parupkar. That one who has taken birth in the land of India has got two duties. That you first perfect your life and then help others perfect their lives. So this will happen only when our community is solid. When we build a solid community, that's what Mahaprabhu did there. That when devotees from Mayapur, from Ekachakra, from Katwa, from different places will come together, he will not only preach to them but show them by his own example that how each one of you should behave. And we see amazing examples. Now, even after Mahaprabhu took sannyas, just to please the devotees, he will sometimes, of course in the beginning, he used to break the sannyas rules out of affection for the devotees. We also know once Prabhupada went to some life member's house in Mumbai to do a program, and the young devotees also were there with him, and the prasadam was served. And Prabhupada, took a couple of, morsels, and then the devotees also started eating. And they told Prabhupada, this has onions in it. Prabhupada said, no, there's no onion in this. He said, no, Prabhupada, there's onion in this. He said, there's no onion in this. Prabhupada, for him, the affection of the devotee guest was very important. Of course, that doesn't mean that we can also do that, just imitate Prabhupada. But the whole idea is that Prabhupada wanted to solidify a community. Same Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to solidify a community. Sometimes, when Jagadananda Pandit, out of affection for Prabhupada, he will say, Prabhupada, you are too intense, like you're too austere. Just sometimes, sometimes have this nice prasadam. Sometimes apply sandalwood oil. Sometimes do this, sometimes do that. So Prabhupada, Mahaprabhu, out of affection for them, he would just do that. Of course, later on, then when it became too much, he said, if you force me anymore, I'm going to leave this place. So he was solidifying this movement of love by building communities, and that's what we are also here for. And at the end, of course, we know he was savoring this moment of love. So after starting this moment of Sankirtan, after spreading, after structuring, after solidifying, then at the end, in Gambhira, when he is in intense separation from Krishna as Srimati Radharani, he is savoring every moment. And you can see some of the, it's interesting, in the last chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Ante Leela, is, does anyone know what the last chapter is called? The last chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita. We'll think it will be a very high class topic. Yes. Now what's the last chapter? The last chapter in Ante Leela is called Shikshashtakam. Shikshashtakam prayers. Just think, we recite Shikshashtakam prayers every morning. Right? So what is the beginning in this moment is also the end. Chaitanya Charitamrita ends with Shikshashtakam prayers, and in that amazing contradictory mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is given. So he's actually savoring this moment of love. So this is what we actually should do, coming together, chanting and dancing. I want to take you through some teachings, some little, I might be a couple of minutes over the time, but please bear with me. So then Mahaprabhu here savors this movement. In Gambhira, he's going through some extreme emotions. Chaitanya Charitamrita very nicely describes. So there's an emotion of lamentation. Then there's an emotion of jubilation. Can you imagine both of them coming together? When you're lamenting, there won't be any jubilation there, right? So when Mahaprabhu is experiencing the separation of Krishna, it is so intense that he's experiencing the jubilation, the lamentation, the excitement, the moroseness, the happiness, everything all together. And the Ante Leela describes that these emotions are coming like in waves. They're coming in waves. And in the ocean when you go, sometimes you see when the waves are coming from inside and they're coming on the shore, what happens? The one wave is pushing the other wave, and slowly it will gain momentum and will go higher and higher and higher. Right? Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. So these emotions were coming like waves. So sometimes each emotion, just imagine he's just jubilant, and behind that the wave of lamentation is there. These are contradictory emotions, but they are all coming together and pushing and taking him to a very high level of, savoring this moment of love. And sometimes, as we know in the ocean, when the wave is going back, it'll crash against the incoming wave, and they'll crash, go up, and then just disperse there. The same thing used to happen with his emotions. Different varieties of emotions will come into him, they'll crash, and then they'll disperse. So Mahaprabhu has gone through these amazing emotions. He's savoring these moments. It's amazing that in our scriptures they teach us how to live, and we saw how we learn. So that the scriptures teach us how to live, and also by our life how we teach others. In second chapter of Madhya Leela, where Mahaprabhu is going through the experience what Radharani feels. He has come for that, to feel the love of Srimati Radharani. And a wonderful description is given of how Mahaprabhu is talking like Srimati Radharani. Of course, I'm not going to go into the details, but the second chapter of Madhya Leela itself gives you the pinnacle of our path of bhakti. So can everyone read this verse? So can you please repeat after me? Aradhyo Bhagavan Rajesh Tanaya Taddam Vrindavanam. Aradhyo Bhagavan Rajesh Tanaya Taddam Vrindavanam. रम्या काचिदुपासना वरवधू वर्गेण का कल्पिता रम्या काचिदुपासना वरवधू वर्गेण वा कल्पिता श्रीमद्भागवतम पुराणम अमलम actually it's puranam amalam, but I don't know. No. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur matamidam Tatradara na para. So Mahaprabhu's main teaching is this one. He says, can someone read this translation please? Loudly? Anyone? Yes? Okay. Raghav?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Can everyone hear at the back? Yes, if you can read also, yes.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, is worshipped along with his transcendental abode, Vrindavana. The most pleasing form of worship for the Lord is that which was performed by the gopis of Vrindavana. Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless authority on everything, and pure love of Godhead is the ultimate goal for all men. These statements, for which we have the highest regard, are the opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Thank you. So Mahaprabhu basically said that Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is worshipped, and he is the son of Nanda Maharaj. So we know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But I just heard this morning that the Goswamis actually tell us that how do we know who is the Supreme Personality of Krishna? We've never heard this term, Supreme Personality of Krishna. But here the Goswamis are telling us that that person who was born in Vrindavan, who's son of Nanda and Yashoda, son of Vasudeva Devaki, he is none other than Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. So Supreme Person of Godhead, Lord Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, is worshipped along with his transcendental abode Vrindavan. So this is our end goal, that we worship Krishna along with his transcendental abode Vrindavan. The most pleasing form of worship is for the Lord is that which was performed by the gopis of Vrindavan. And as we know, the gopis just gave everything to Krishna. They were not worried about any social norms, nothing at all. Of course, we cannot imitate that mood, but we understand that that is the benchmark. And by chanting Hare Krishna, by actually doing such simple things. One time one devotee asked Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, when you tell us so much to go out and distribute books, but on one hand we also know that we have to study the pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan, the pastimes of how gopis are loving Krishna, how Srimati Radharani loves Krishna. Prabhupada said that when you go out and distribute my books, that is actually like taking part in the Leela of Radha Krishna and Vrindavan. Just imagine this, how easy we have got it for us. So yes, we can worship like gopis in Vrindavan by chanting together and by distributing this holy name and distributing books, prasadam like that. Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. Tomorrow morning Viraj Prabhu is also going to take us through Bhagavatam, wonderful classes. And this is a spotless Purana. Mahaprabhu says nothing else is required. You just come and study Srimad Bhagavatam. A spotless authority on everything, and pure love of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life for all men. This is all we want. As Prabhu says, Krishna Prem. All we want is Krishna Prem. And for us it's very simple. Just chant Hare Krishna together, take prasadam, go out and give this to others, and we can actually experience Krishna Prem. And whose opinion is this? It's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told us that this is what it is, the sum and substance of my teachings. And actually, as I mentioned before sometime, that here it is said, these statements for which we have the highest regard are the opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when I heard one class where it says, if anyone else says anything else, we don't care. We don't care. So it's a very brazen statement to make. If you say anything else, I don't care. I want to worship Krishna in the mood of gopis of Vrindavan. Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest Puran, and the love of Krishna is the ultimate goal of life. That's all. Rest all, I don't care. So then Mahaprabhu shows by his own example. Let's recite this one here. Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yoga. Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yoga. Shikshartameka Purusha Purana. Shikshartameka Purusha Purana. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari. Kripam Budhiryastvamaham Prapadye. Kripam Budhiryastamaham Prapadye. So this is spoken by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in glorification of Lord Mahaprabhu. He says, why does he appear? He is showing us Vairagya Vidya. Vairagya Vidya means, normally when we think of Vairagya, the Grihastha life doesn't want that, to hear that word, right? Vairagya baad mein abhi pehle duty karo. But Vairagya, as we also heard recently from Shyamananda Prabhu, that Vairagya doesn't just mean giving away things. Vairagya means, the other meaning is Vishesha Raga. It means we have to develop Vishesh attachment for Krishna. And once we develop this attachment, this is the Vidya we want to follow. If we want to follow the Vidya, which gives us Vishesh attachment to Krishna, Vishesh Raga. And then what does Mahaprabhu say? Nij Bhakti Yoga. When you say Nij Bhakti Yoga means, he's talking about his own bhakti, that yes, I am giving you the bhakti yoga with which you can actually worship Krishna, worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting and hearing the holy name. Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yoga. And why did he appear? Shikshartam Eka Purusha Purana. So the original person Krishna is appearing to give us shiksha. We started with shiksha. We started with different ways of teaching us, right? So scriptures teach us like this. Shikshartam Eka Purusha Purana. And who comes? Krishna comes as who? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharirdhari. He comes as Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharirdhari. And then he is the ocean of mercy. Kripam Budhir is the ocean of mercy. Yastam Ham Prapate. I worship him, I surrender him, I bow down to him, I pay my obeisances to him. So let me take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, who has descended in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us real knowledge. His devotional service and detachment from whatever does not foster Krishna consciousness. He has descended because he is an ocean of transcendental mercy. Let me surrender into his lotus feet. So we all request everyone to please come here, chant together. And solidify this moment, savor this moment of love, and our life can be successful. So let's repeat again one last time in a nutshell. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us about Mahaprabhu is teaching by his own example because he knows the way, he goes the way, and he shows the way. Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So I know I've gone over time. If there's any quick question or comments or reflections, anyone? Yes, no? Okay, so we'll all rise for the Gaur Arati. Just a couple of announcements I want to make. Please sit down. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I'll be having an announcement after the Arati or yes? Okay. So announcement will be after the Arati. Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you. Yes, yes, now you know that's not important at all. People will come now.